Hello, this is Jenny at Designs with Paper. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel and welcome to my Christmas card and craft series for 2021. This is the first video and I am not sure how many videos that spotlights Christmas cards and Christmas crafts. And for my video today, I will be using my first ever Unity stamp. So this is one of the Angie's Girl stamps and it is Ember Girl, and I loved it when I saw it. It popped up in my newsfeed and I loved it. So I have stamped it on a piece of Nina Solar White 80-pound cardstock with Simon Says stamp intense black ink because it is a Copic friendly ink, and I will be using Copic markers to color this image. So for her skin tone, I am using an R20 for the cheeks just to give it that little blush. And then I am using an E15, E13, and an E30 to give her kind of a darker complected skin tone. I am trying to use more than just 3 colors for skin tones that I use all the time. And I found this color combination on Sandy Allnock's Colors of the Rainbow pin on Pinterest. So I am just kind of adding on to my repertoire. For her hair, I am using E09, E13, and E97. I want it to be just a little bit of a reddish brown because I think that's a fabulous color for hair. I love redheads. I used to have a redhead, then she grew up and became a little blonde girl. Or a big blonde. I mean, she's not a little girl anymore. She's 20. I am now moving on to her boots, and these boots I am coloring in a black, and I will be using my cool grays. So I have C10, C08, C06, and it's C10, C8, C6, and C4. I don't think they have the zeros in front of them. I could be wrong. But anyway, you know where I'm at. And I'm just kind of outlining them in the dark color and then filling them in, kind of creating a little bit of a shiny spot on the toe. Black is kind of hard for me to color in small spaces. I do a little bit better when it's a larger space and I can really think about where my outline and my shadows are. And I end up almost eliminated the laces on these boots completely, which I'm okay with. I like how they turned out anyway. And I did remember to leave a little highlight. So the next thing I'm going to work on is her hat and mittens, and I'm using a muted green color. These colors are, let me see if I can find where I wrote it down. YG99, 94, and 67. They are yellow greens. They're a little bit more muted. And I did flip it upside down to put the ink in right next to her hair originally so that I would have a very specific stopping point. I am adding the darker color in for the shadows and then leaving a highlight kind of in the left of center on her hat. And on her mittens, I'm just adding the shadows where there's another image kind of hanging over it or naturally including a shadow. Her puffy ball, I used my cool grays again, and I just used the 2 and the 00. So moving on to her pants, I am trying to color these as blue jeans, and I am using a B12, a B14, and a B37. So I laid down, because it's a little bit bigger of a space, the whole lightest blue, and then I went in with the darkest blue and added the shadows in, where I knew it was going to be the darkest. And then I went and pulled those shadows out with the mid-tone blue, leaving a highlight, and went back over the entire thing with the light blue and decided I had pushed it back too far. So then I pulled those shadows out just a little bit farther, and I really like how they turned out. Okay, so now I'm moving on to this tree, and no lie, I have no idea how to color this tree. It's kind of just pencil drawing. There's nothing to color in. So I have picked out some, where's my tree colors? YG17, YG03, and G27. And I'm just kind of going for it. I went from lightest to darkest and back again, just making sure that I had filled in most of the space. And I have sped up this coloring like 4 times because I didn't think you really wanted to sit here and watch me color this in real time. If I'm wrong and you want to watch me color real time, let me know in the comments down below, and I for sure will do that. So for the little burlap on the bottom of this tree, I have pulled out some earth tones, some E30, E31, and E55 to add a little bit of depth to the shadow. And that's just kind of the burlap color that I could find. So for her coat, I wanted to do it in a red, but not a bright, bright red. I wanted to go with like a muted red, kind of like the green on her hat. So I have pulled out my R89, my R85, and my R83. And I went and put the lightest color all over the entire coat, except for the lining. The lining I'm doing in a different color. And then I have pulled out my R89, and I am adding shadow where I think shadow would be. And I am not paying attention to light source or any of that. I'm just thinking, where would there be shadow on this? Because I was just coloring to color to have fun. So once I had all the shadows in with the darkest color, I went back in with my mid-tone color, and I am pulling the shadow out. And there is kind of a big jump between that R89 and the R85. So I did that tip-to-tip technique where I put my mid-tone color on the chisel end of my dark color. And as you color it off, it, fades back out. And that enabled me to blend it just a little bit better. And I love that color of kind of that rosy red. So pretty. Okay, so the inside of her coat, I am just doing in kind of the same colors I used for the burlap bag. The E30, E31, E55. I just want it to be a little bit of a lining. And then for her shirt tails that you can kind of sort of see, I am doing those to kind of read like a white in shadow. So I'm using my cool grays, the 00, the 2, and a little bit of the 4. For the stars, I used a Y28, a Y15, and a Y11. And then I went back over them with my Wink of Stella pen. And now I have pulled out a gel pen, and I'm going over these little black dots that are meant to be snow. If I had been thinking clearly, I would have left this stamp in my Misty stamp positioner and then gone over it with a Versamark ink and with like a Versamark ink pen and just put some embossing powder, there we go, on it. But I did come up with another plan. So for the snow underneath her feet, I started with a blue, the blue from her jeans, the B12, just to give that snow a blue undertone. And then I went over it with my C00 and my C02 and a little bit of a C04 in the shadow and pulled that blue out so that it's grounding her and it's obvious that she is standing in a snow mound. So this is how I decided to go ahead and make those little black dots look like snow. I pulled out my Versamarker and my glitter embossing powder, and I used the fine point end and just went over all of those dots. The white gel roll pen kind of eliminated the outline, so then it looked like I was trying to cover up mistakes, and it didn't really look like snow except for on top of the tree. So I decided I would pull out this Versamarker and just add little dots of Versamarker ink all over the snow on this image, and then cover it with this sparkle embossing powder. Okay, so we all know that glitter is like the herpes of the craft world. It doesn't matter how contained you think you've got it. In a month, you're still going to be finding glitter somewhere. So I rarely use glitter. However, you gotta have sparkly snow, right? So at Christmas time, I pull out my sparkle embossing powder and I have heat set this, and it is all sparkly, and I wish it showed up on video a little bit more. It's really hard because I'm using really bright lights. So I have pulled out 3 pieces of pattern paper from a Christmas pack of pattern paper and a brown card base. And I am going to layer these together and just make a really pretty Christmas card. So I'm using my A2 layers dies to cut these images down. And I pulled out those layer dies instead of just trimming it down because I wasn't sure how big I wanted this image to be. I wanted to make sure I had a frame around it for these 2 layers, but I didn't want to cut it off, right? So I'm pulling out, these are my waffle flower A2 layers dies. I think I said that already. And I'm just choosing which die fits around that image the tightest without cutting any of it off. I just really love Unity stamps, but they've always been so intimidating to me. I don't know why. I just kind of freak out and feel like I could never color them pretty. And I love how she turned out. So once I have the proper die in place for my image, I can add the dies to my pattern paper for my background, because all I have to do now is go up, right? So there is going to be a very minimal margin around these images with pattern paper, but I just love how it looked, adding a little bit more color. And this green is very much similar to the green in her hat and her mittens. And then I pulled out this striped paper with snowflakes on it. Now, we end up not being able to see any of the snowflakes, but you can see the stripes, so whatever, it's a win-win. And I love the diagonal stripes. So once I have these all taped down, I will run them through my die cut machine, and it is over off to my left, off of my desk, because it would make the camera shake like the boogeyman was invading my house. I have picked a piece of brown cardstock. It is 5.5 by 8.5 inches, and it is scored in the middle at 4.25 to be a side folding portrait card. And I am just layering them on a little bit of time to see how they look. Do I want to use foam tape? Do I not? Of course I want to use foam tape. So the first layer, the stripe layer, I will add with my ATG gun. And as you can tell, there is no frame to that card base. And then I will add the green polka dot layer with ATG tape as well. And then I am going to pop up the image panel with my 3M foam tape. So this is my gigantic roll from Amazon that I need to start looking for. I've heard that they are in short supply these days, and I don't want to run out. So I will go ahead and nearly completely cover the back of this image. I don't want it to sink in when I send it through the mail. So I will put a not little amount of foam tape on the back of my card panel, or my card panel, and adhere that to the front of the card. And I'm just trying to make sure it's straight. I use the grid mats on my work surface to line up my cards so that I can see that everything is centered. And there you go. I am going to go ahead and add a piece of copy paper to the inside of my card base so that there is a nice clean place to write my Christmas message. So for my first Unity stamp, I think she turned out pretty fabulous. Let me know how you feel about this card below. And if you have not done so already, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. And if you know somebody who you think would love this card, go ahead and send them the link. Thank you so much for stopping by. I have included a couple other videos for you here to watch. I hope you have a really, really fabulous day.